All right, so I was going to show you how to do speed holes. We're going to make speed holes, lightning holes, you know, the whole traditional hot rod thing. If you don't know what that is, you're about to find out. But it's just holes through material, and you can just drill it. Like say you just go get a hole saw and just drill it and leave it open. That's fine. I've done it. You know, if that's what your budget allows and that's what you want to do, that's cool, man. You know, it's steps and it's all about progress. And it's your car. Build what you want. Um, but I have these dies. They're not expensive. They're pretty affordable. I think Eastwood sells them. I think I got mine for like 150 bucks at one point. They might be like 200 now or something. I don't recall. I'd have to look. But you can see, you know, here's your hole size. Here's your flare or dimple. And then this is just for the die material. So you have to have quite a bit of bulk to fit that in there. You know, you can do what some people do, and they just map out the holes and kind of, you know, have this magical theory that's great. But if you're like me and you don't want to get overcomplicated, just keep it simple, man. So what I did is I found the middle of the material, which here I have these little tabs that hold the lid down originally for the cap. And again, there's an odd number. So here you are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did measure this beforehand and double check. But next thing you do, just take a measurement you can copy across the thing. And like I go right here, that's 5, we'll push it up. All right. Yep, pretty damn close. All right, so the middle of that is roughly 2.5. Okay. Obviously that's not dead accurate, but you'll see. So what I did is I took my die. I like to start big in the middle because it's just looks better in my opinion. I sometimes like smaller to be on the outside. We're gonna see. The panel tells you what it needs, what it doesn't. So what I do, again, the inside is your hole size. So I mark this out. And then what I like to do is just use the dies, because you can see where they clink together. If you put them and you cut your holes before this and you don't have the material in there, if this edge was to get over into each other, it'll flatten that out and it'll look like shit. It becomes a pain in the butt, and you'll be all upset. So here's this, and then what I do is I just go like this, circle it, and I would stack it out until I get to the end. And I'm like, okay, you know, is that a reasonable amount? Does there need to be a smaller die out here? That's considerable. But I'd circle them all right. Liked the layout, went front to back, and I had the rough circles in here. And I had my first one that's dead center. So I took a flat stock, something relatively straight, and you measure that 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Make sure you got a good center line, and I just trace all the way through it. And then, you know, with those circles, 2.5, find the measure or the middle. 2, there's the middle. 2.5, 2. If you want to get dead accurate, you can get template paper out, clean this all off, mark it down with a real small Sharpie pen or something, you know, bike them. This is close enough for what I'm doing. I'm just building something cheap, fun, and trying to have a good time. You know, hey, it is what it is. There's people out there that are millions of times better than me. So I draw all of that out. I'm about to knock it out with hole saws. You know, perfect world, your dies should be clean. I've cleaned those dies several times. They just rust. Live in Texas. I tried the oil thing. I do body work. Got a paint booth. I'm not trying to have a lot of oil in here. I just don't like it. And it works, man. It does fine for me. If I need it, I could take the time to clean it. It's really surface rust. When it gets to that nasty pitting where they're stuck together, that's an issue. But so here we are. We got our holes. We're gonna knock these holes in, and we're gonna take it over to my press, and we're gonna see how that works, and we're gonna take it off and all that, obviously. But you know, again, perfect world, clean strip, take this all off. We're gonna run it the way it is because I don't even think I'm gonna paint this thing. I just want to have a hillbilly good time. All right, so let's knock some holes. All right, we're gonna go change out my hole size and get the 2-inch one. There's better ways to do this. There's a punch and flare die where you drill your pilots, and you tighten down the die with like a bolt, and it literally like comes together, compresses, and pops, and it cuts the hole, punches, flares it all at once. They're nice. I had these. This is what I had, and I'm still doing this instead of, there's other ways to do it inside the hole saw that's not as wobbly and doesn't allow that hole to kind of, I don't want to say elongate, but it's just a little sloppier. So you got this, it's really sharp. Then you got to come in here and file it down and whatnot, and I'll show you all that too. All right, we'll go change that. And like I said, you want to clean these holes up, because if you don't do it now when you flare it, they're a little bit harder to clean. So I take a circular, or you can take a half moon, whatever, as long as it's rounded somewhat, brass file, whatever you call it. And you just do it like that. All right, let's take it off, go over to the press. All right. Let me travel you over there. All right, so we're over here at the press. I like to look and consider what's going to fit best in the press. So you can see I modified mine and built my press. I will have a freight one. It's really big. I added air over the shack. But I want my dimples going down, so they need to be pressing into the piece of metal that we're working on. And I like to kind of just line it up, get it in there, and then use something to take the gap up. Other dies. But genius. All right, cool. First one's done. Let's knock them all out, see what it is. I like to just run the same die over and over. That way I can get it done a little bit quicker. And you can see some of those burrs. I didn't really rasp it down. I'll take a dual orbit sander, DA, some sander of some sort. I call them DAs. The dual action. I don't know, whatever. And I'll sand that down with a little bit of like 80 grit or something, and just cut off that gnarly edge that the hole saw makes. All right, let's go put it back on.